Sneaking out to the drive-in? Why not take the kiddies along and save the expense of a sitter? Everyone enjoys the drive-in.
The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
So yes, all right. What are we talking about this week? I forgot.
So we're in? Are we in now?
We are in. Why not? Sure. Somewhere along the line, you hit record and we're good to go.
We are doing another Disney week, just like last week, where we did
just stay in Disney.
We should just broadcast from Disney World. We should go across like one of these bloggers. I never understand, because if you look at a Disney Parks blog, it's like full time. So you're getting reports back, and these people are just park hopping, across continents. Like, do they get paid for this? And how do they get this job?
There is one I listen to frequently, which is Skywalking Through Neverland.
Okay.
And they're usually, Star Wars specific to whatever's going in the park. But yeah, it seems like they just, they set up shop there every day, and that's where they record from, or at least that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, Disney, we will broker a deal where all we talk about are Disney films. If you will set us up.
And your Cheerios, right? You can pay us in Cheerios. I'd be happy with that.
And the prehistoric turkey legs. I don't know what turkey those come off of, but those are monstrous.
Those are pterodactyls. They come right from the Jurassic World ride. So let's see, what are we actually discussing? We are discussing Pixar, Disney/Pixar's new release, Luca, not to be confused with the Susanna Vega song.
But his name is Luca.
Yes. He does not, he lives in the seventh sea, so not in the second
He lives
floor.
On the ocean floor, not on the second floor.
There you go. Yes, indeed. Yeah, this was a cute little thing. What is this, like Pixar's 250th movie?
They're cranking them.
I want to say this is their 24th.
You would know this better than me. How long, pre-production, production, post-production, does an animated Pixar film on average take?
You're talking probably 3 years.
So they probably have 2 or 3 right now in the burner.
Oh, absolutely. Made. Oh, absolutely. I'm sure that they have multiple movies in development, but on average, probably like 3+ years. By the time you hash out a plot, storyline, you attach your director and you attach your main animators or whatever. You're going to write a script. You're going to have to get voice talent to record this stuff. You do the animation, you bring back in the voice actors to, tweak some things or whatever. It's a process. So
and yet they're still coming out with them, pretty much on a regular yearly basis.
I mean, what Soul came out. Well, I mean, obviously things got backed up because of COVID, but Soul dropped on Disney in January. We'll get into it, Luca, and then we're going to back end it with another monster movie, a much more beloved monster movie, Monsters Inc.
Monsters Inc. One of the pillars of Pixar.
Yeah, it's just funny because I couldn't remember last week we were talking, was it Nemo who came first or was it Monsters Inc.? But if you're a Pixar aficionado, you know that they always tease their next movie in their current movie. So in Monsters Inc., there's numerous little clownfish teasing Nemo.
Yes, and there's a very obvious tease of Woody and the Pixar ball as well. The whole
Pixar ball's in there. We've got some leftover stuff from A Bug's Life that got transferred in there. So listen, you create it, you build it, you might as well reuse it.
Yeah, own it, right?
Right. Plus, I think it does a good job of actually tying together the fact that maybe all these universes exist together. If you want to go down that road, if you want to go down that Pixar wormhole.
If that's the case, why wouldn't another kid have a Woody doll? You know, why is it just Andy?
Yeah. Well, we see Donald Duck in Luca.
Yes. Yeah. My son had to point that out to me.
So anyway, so we'll get into that. Obviously, we will be talking Loki episode 3 on the back end. All of you who actually show up just to listen to the Loki, you can fast forward or you can stick around and listen to us.
You know, now that I think about it, it's too bad that we didn't go full alliteration, all L's. But Monsters Inc. is kind of upsetting.
Luca, Loki, and Larry.
Yeah, I don't know. Luca, Loki, Luca.
Oh, you dated yourself.
Yeah.
It's still fun.
All right, so now I've been excited because Jeff has a reveal.
Yes. So last week we did this. What did Jeff learn this week? And I will tell you, this blew my mind, Jim. For somebody who's been entrenched in Star Wars lore for the better of 45 plus years of my life. So I'm on a fair amount of these Facebook groups, nerd, Star Wars, comic books, toys, you name it. And I'm reading through this post, and somebody just says, yeah, I've always wondered, where exactly the trench is in the Death Star that they, basically fly down into and blow up. So I slapped on my snarky nerd hat and I'm like, it's the big giant equator trench that you see in all the pictures, and was promptly told that's not the case. That is not the trench that the rebels flew down into and blew up the Death Star. Apparently there are 3 trenches. And if you look at the cross section of the official Death Star blueprints, it is the polar trench that they were in.
Does this mean it's either on the top or the bottom of the Death Star?
It is the top.
It's the top.
Sorry, I guess polar can be both ends, right? It is the top. And this was told to me by a very reliable source who owned the page and is a world-renowned Star Wars expert. So I felt like a moron.
Now,
as a kid, you just assumed it's always
you assume
the big
because
trench.
it's the only visible trench on the Death Star from what you're shown anyway.
Right.
So going back, looking at the film itself, is there any evidence to support
I have to
this?
go back and actually see. I mean, yeah, you do get them, especially the 97 version where you get all the X-Wings lined up as they're flying toward the Death Star. But you never really see, like, they just come up on it and you hear, this thing's huge, but you never see like which direction they kind of come in on. And there's really once you're on the surface, there's no real point of reference.
When they're discussing what they're going to do you ever see?
Yeah, the blueprints, right. You just assume, because that technical readout shows the big disc of, where the gun is, and then you see the trench. So you just like, that's it. Why else would it be anywhere else? So yeah, my 9-year-old mind was absolutely blown that I have had that wrong all this time.
That must be the middle trench must be where you unscrew it and then get the silly putty inside.
Right. So I felt like a complete moron because I really was kind of like, the big trench in the middle. You can see that, right? And
yeah, because I could see you putting on your monocle. I believe it's the big trench in the middle.
And I could not answer fast enough.
Yeah.
Like, are you really? And yeah, I was slapped down big time. So maybe I'm the only one who never knew that. As a kid, you just assumed that is where
I assumed it. Yeah,
that is the mentality I went with, and I'm still in denial. But it did kind of set me on my heels a little bit. Do you want to do a little bit of news? Alrighty, so let's get into it. We're gonna put this a sign of the times, which is, we got all these streaming services are going nuts now, and the movie theaters are back up and running, and that's by and large a great thing for us. Amblin Pictures, our partners, has forged a partnership with Netflix in which they are going to be producing multiple feature films exclusively for the streaming service. So here we go. Now these studios, just like Warner Brothers, pairing up. You're going to start dumping their stuff exclusively on HBO. So now Amblin, which is interesting because Spielberg, who obviously heads this thing, it was reported that he was kind of poo-pooing the idea of I guess he was urging the Academy of Motion Pictures and Arts to bar day and date streaming releases from being eligible for Oscars. So these movies that don't have a theatrical release but just drop on a streaming service, or same day theater and streaming, he's come out and denied that. But I know that there was a lot of vocalization about not letting that happen. But you still have, I mean, what was it, The Irishman? That still had a theatrical
these are
release.
movies. These are movies that are produced by and expressly for the said streaming service. So yeah, we're seeing a lot more of those get nominated for awards as well.
Yeah, and I think that they pushed that into the theater just so it would be able to be nominated. You drop it in.
So it's still, I didn't realize that a movie needs to have a theatrical release in order to be nominated.
I think that is still the case, but it's got to go away. Theoretically, if you don't have Netflix and Spielberg, he could be, I guess the deal is upwards of at least 2 movies a year that they're creating exclusively for Netflix. They'll stream exclusively on Netflix, and he could be attached as a director. So you could theoretically have a Spielberg directed movie up for an Oscar that, if you don't have Netflix, have never seen. So
does this mean that Netflix will own the IP? Like, will they become like a Disney type corporation?
That's an interesting question. I'm sure that there's all backdoor dealings or whatever. I don't think there's anything specific to like the genres or I mean, it could be a love story. It could be a biography.
So it's not necessarily animated or kids movies
or some gangbusters. And I guess, budget's out the window. Netflix like to throw their money around, and right now they're all competing. So let's put as much money as possible. And you got Spielberg's name attached to this. Why wouldn't you throw money at it?
And speaking of throwing money at stuff, I read an article. He has turned down offers to reboot Jaws, and that he would never reboot Jaws.
Yeah. Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis have both basically put in any contracts that you can never reboot Back to the Future as well. Good. There are certain movies that should not be remade. Listen, Jaws has been redone 1 billion times anyways, underneath any other name except for the name Jaws.
It's already got Jaws the Revenge. You do not need to mess with it any further.
That's in his contract. You will never make a Jaws the Revenge. Yeah. But look at like Kong. The original was 33. The first remake was in 76. That's only like a 40-year difference. That's like that, you're talking about like I could go back and remake Star Wars now.
You want to, this raises an interesting point. Do you really want to feel old? Remember when you were a kid in the 70s and 76?
Sure,
throw a year out there. 76, we'll say, since you just mentioned it.
Okay.
And how forever ago 1930 seemed.
Yeah.
And to your point, it was only 40 years. And now we're sitting here, and we were very much alive 40 years ago. And it blows my mind to think if I was this age in 1976, that means I would have been 10 years old in the 30s.
Yeah.
And that is depressing.
Yeah. It is depressing. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that the 90s were 30 years ago. That was yesterday.
I know.
So we're going to stay on the age thing, which is, I'm going to file this under, we did not see this coming. Harrison Ford, 78 years old, filming Indiana Jones 5, hurts his shoulder while rehearsing. He's not even filming. He is rehearsing. Now, he didn't break a hip. He didn't, from what I understand, it doesn't sound like it's that serious and that they are going to continue filming around him. But the man's 78 years old.
No wonder why he's so grumpy. The guy injures himself on every single movie.
I was going to say, right? Think about that, because I think he notoriously really hurt his back or did something with one of his discs during Temple of Doom. Now, I will say the Force Awakens injury in which he broke his leg is not on him. He was just standing around and the set fell apart. Literally
what am I working with?
The Millennium Falcon fell
what am I
on
working with amateurs here? Come on.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
imagine
did.
them.
I with that one, he did have a right to grump about that, I'm sure.
He's in great shape. Don't get me wrong. Anyways, hopefully he'll recover and we'll get this damn movie before I turn 78. And then the only other news I have, which I just saw this morning, Dune has been delayed 3 weeks.
When was it supposed to come out?
I believe it was set to come out October 1st, and now they're talking about the 22nd.
Why?
They're just shuffling. They're shuffling things around because now, look at all these studios that have a ton of movies they've been sitting on. This originally was part of the deal that was going to drop on HBO Max, and the director had an absolute hissy fit, as well he should. They reworked it, and now it falls underneath the other contract, which will give the 45-day theatrical release before it's allowed to show up on streaming. So, but October 22nd. So if you were excited for this movie, you're now going to have to wait an additional 3 weeks. And I'm assuming that we are going to be covering this.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption to make.
Yeah. I do remember not being impressed with the, was it 84?
84. I was 13, went to the theater to see it, and I was just like in a coma by the end of it.
Because you were so starstruck and awed by it, or because you were
because I was bored out of my mind.
It is tedious, except for the Sting fight scenes
and
the giant worms.
Even though I had read the book at that point, the big reason I wanted to see it was because I was all about the police, and even in 1984, because they were already pretty much done by then.
I probably just like most kids probably just flipped through looking for the sex scenes. I was just looking for the giant worm scenes. Give me a giant space worm, I'm good to go. And then of course Beetlejuice came along and it was like, I like those better.
I like that better. Yeah, I think I'll take that.
Yes, indeed. So anyways, we gotta wait 3 weeks. So and that is all the news I have, unless you have anything.
I do not. We can get into it.
Let's go, Luca. Then I could go for a swim in the I kept saying it was the French Riviera, but it's not. They are speaking Italian. It's in the Italian Riviera.
Yeah, well, you get the Italian flag on that fishing boat right up front. So.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's if I knew what the Italian flag looked like.
And of course, my first thought is Epcot, Italy. This has a dark ride written all over.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start bringing some sea monsters into Epcot, I am there again.
Yeah.
I think the only reason I enjoyed Epcot was the to go from place to place drinking.
Well, hey, I got to tell you, Epcot is my favorite of the Florida parks. Epcot is my hands down favorite. And I will say the reason why is because late summer into the fall, they have the International Food Festival, because you're talking about going country to country drinking.
Sure. Yeah,
They've got food booths set up for each one, and they already have restaurants there at Epcot in each of these countries. But for a nominal fee, $3-4, you get a sample of that country's dish. And they not only have the countries that are represented there in Epcot already, but they've got smaller booths in between. So there's dozens of countries. It seems like there's probably less, but it just seems like every few feet you stop and you eat something from another country. And of course, they do have alcoholic beverages as well.
See, I could definitely do that. I do remember, and I was only there once, and I think it was 96. There was like a little amphitheater outside.
Yeah.
Okay. Paul Revere and the Raiders I saw. I wanted to just, my wife was like, we got better things to do. And I'm like, it's Paul Revere and the Raiders. Look, they're even wearing their outfits.
They call that Eat to the Beat, the concert series.
And I want to say the Monkees were there the week before, and I missed them.
Yeah, they've played. When I've been there, I've seen Sister Sledge, the We Are Family.
Yep. Yeah. Is that all they played?
I think they played that maybe twice. And
sure, why not?
Little Richard was there. Yelling at somebody for filming him.
It's an outdoor venue. Yeah. Everyone just walking by. That's got to be sad. That is like the mall experience. Because it's not that big, that little amphitheater.
It's literally
like a little, it's like, let's rest the kids underneath this overhang. So
this amphitheater is set up right at the American Adventure. So it's at the head, like the 12 o'clock noon spot around the lagoon, right? And it's first come, first serve. So if it's a big act, people are lined up there all day to get a seat. But yes, if you're walking by, you can see into the amphitheater, but they, they're pushing you to move on. You can't stand there and watch the show.
Oh, they actually have like traffic police.
Yeah.
Keep it flowing.
Yep.
Now say like, like the Monkees, who were pretty big. Would they just do like one show, or would they do like numerous shows throughout the day?
No, it's in the evening, and I believe it's 2 or 3 shows starting like at 7, and it's usually like 30, 40 minutes.
Wow.
So they'll do 2 or 3 shows in the evening, like 7, 9, and then like right before
you think
the
it's the same
fireworks
show, or would each show be different?
We heard Sister Sledge 2 or 3 times, and it sounded like it was just the same.
Just the same thing. Yeah. Well, they only have.
With that, in that case, then there'd be no other choice but to have that set list.
So yes, we are. Oh, wow, we went down the rabbit hole already.
So let's get back to the Italian flag just brought that upon us. Yep. So Luca opens up with a little like Monsters Incorporated. They try to give a scary flavor to the sea monsters here in Luca. So there's an Italian fisherman. There's 2 fishermen actually, and they're out on a boat, and it's in the middle of the night, and they're fishing off the coast of an island that everybody's afraid of. And you get
is that legal to be fishing at night?
It didn't sound like it was. It didn't sound like it was, or it didn't sound like they were supposed to be there.
Well, then they should have been scared by a sea monster. Night fishing. You're right. This is a nice little reveal. You get just enough of what's going on. You kind of feel for these fishermen because they're like, like, oh, it's a monster. But what we learn later about these creatures, it falls apart because he should have turned human the minute he left the water. They do it later.
So they play fast and loose with that. You're
supposed to forget about this opening sequence.
Yeah. But you see this monster, and I assumed that this was Luca that we were looking at, but that's not the case at all.
That is not the case, because then you immediately cut to the next morning to this character, Luca, or Nemo, or Ariel, whoever you want to refer to him.
Or you could call him Sigmund as well.
Sigmund, Ponyo, if you want to even go down to Studio Ghibli. Because all the artifacts, there's like human artifacts that fall overboard. The sea monster you see is trying to steal stuff off the ship. And that's when he gets spotted, and he has to kind of jump for his life because they're throwing harpoons and everything else at him. But then you're right. Then you cut to Luca the next morning, and you see his family, and you see him, and he's like a goat fish herder.
He's like a shepherd. Yeah,
he's a shepherd. All underwater, by the way. He is full on sea monster. They got nice long sea monster tails, and he's got this frilly stuff on his head. A nice design.
So not quite a mermaid, but it's in that area, but it's he's not human at all. He's got the long tail, but his top half is very much very fish-like.
But he does have hands. He's got arms. Yeah.
And he's got clothes underwater. Like, I don't know if they're like made of scales or what have you, but somehow they turn to human clothes when he goes up on the surface.
Yeah, that you just kind of gloss over that. I guess they're modest underneath there.
Yeah, maybe they learned a lesson with the risque scenes in The Little Mermaid.
Did we meet Mom, Dad, and the fact that they are living, what is this? Porto Rosso is the name of the Italian town that they're
so they're not very far away from this town of Porto Rosso.
And it was cute because my wife was translating some of the Italian for me.
Oh, really?
As we were going. I know now, does it give you the translation when you're watching the subtitles, or does it give it to you in Italian?
It actually subtitles it in Italian.
So that's no help.
No.
That's just no help whatsoever. I think the only thing I really understood is when they were like, "What are you, a stupid head?" I'm like, isn't that derogatory, racist Italian? But Maya Rudolph, who's everywhere nowadays.
I know she is the go-to mom in any animated movie at this point.
Yeah. What was it we just watched that she was in?
The Mitchells versus the Machines.
Yeah. She was the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although Jim Gaffigan, I think, was maybe miscast in this. He's one of my, if not my favorite stand-up comedian right now. Very family friendly. Love the guy.
His humor is very dry, right? So
yeah, and he didn't really have much to do. And his character, I thought, big dumpy with a mustache looking thing, and I didn't care for his. Yeah, he brought nothing to the table. Let's put it that way.
But talk about Maya Rudolph. Like, you can't fault her though, because she found a niche and she has gone for it, because even though she's not the mom in Big Hero 6, like that is the archetype, I think, for the parental character. She did that so well, that character in Big Hero 6, that even though it's like, oh, is this Maya Rudolph again? She excels at every role, role that she's in.
Yeah, no, and she is one of the stronger characters. Luca starts finding all of these things laying on the bottom of the ocean, which are what was it? Like a deck of playing cards. There was the phonograph,
the clock,
a bunch of other things. So you think he's immediately like Ariel, that he's collecting this stuff because he's obsessed with human culture, but no, he runs into another character, Alberto, and he's the one that we find out was the night sea monster that was not attacking a boat, but he was stealing stuff from the boat.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Alberto is more of the Ariel type character because he is collecting lots of human stuff.
Yeah. I did find it funny. His last name is Scorfano, which I don't even know if they mention in the movie itself, but that roughly translates to scorpion fish, or a person that's not good looking.
Really?
That's a rough last name to have. That's a little judgy, right? Listen, sea monsters need loving as well. But Alberto's kind of a bad boy.
He's on his own. There's no parents. There's no parental figure around Alberto, even though you don't realize that up front. But he is going on shore, and we learn that when you do as a sea monster, the change, as they call it, automatically happens. You get dry and then you become human, a human version. And it's not like that there's any time limit. You can be indefinitely.
There's a cute sequence where, Luca reluctantly follows him up onto the beach, turns into a human, freaks out, and then Alberto is teaching him how to walk, which is, there's some really nice, it's very impressive.
It is. The colors are so bright.
Vibrant,
everything is just vibrant is a great word.
I feel like every time we talk about something now that we watch streaming, that this is my go-to. Even when we get into Monsters Inc., I've watched that movie 1,000 times on DVD. Watching it on Disney Plus streaming, it's like watching it again for the first time. You're seeing details and you're seeing colors that you've never picked up on before.
Because I have it on DVD as well, but I'm like, no, I'm watching it on Disney Plus.
Because I was tempted to just watch the commentary because I've seen this movie 1,000 times. I know it inside and out. Oh, schmoochie poo. We literally do at home. That's one of my go-tos when I walk in the door at the end of my day. I'm not called Googly Bear, by the way, which is very sad. But we're already in Disney Plus Monsters Inc. Luca is very impressive to look at.
It is. And because, just because of the surroundings, the geography where you are, you've got all the shots of the ocean above and below.
Yeah. And I think they really fed into that, the Italian Riviera in that romanticized idea of the idyllic little towns on the water, the old fisheries and just, the brightly colored homes and whatever. And it just amped it up.
Let me just point out that I'm going to say ocean a lot, but I do realize they are in the Mediterranean and not the ocean. But
that is a good point.
But just give me that license, please, if you hear me say
they
ocean.
are in the Mediterranean. Yeah. So it is salt water, correct?
I believe so. I don't know.
We put ourselves on the spot here.
This is where our compatriot, if she is listening, Tina
she's
out
yelling.
there.
She's yelling right now. Sorry, we miss you, by the way.
Yes.
Please come back. We miss you.
So Alberto is going on shore on this island where nobody goes to conveniently, right? So he's by himself and he's found like an old decrepit tower.
Which is a nice set piece. It's a really nice set piece. And he's just got, it's like Ariel's
grotto.
Right? There you go. Yeah. Just full of human artifacts.
And one of the artifacts is a poster for a Vespa, a scooter.
Yeah.
And Alberto has fixated on this, and this is what he wants. He thinks that he can escape his island if he only had a Vespa, and he could see the world if he had a Vespa. So that is his goal, is to get a Vespa.
Daniel Craig is also looking for Vespa, by the way.
Yeah.
That is quintessential Italian waterside, just tooling around as free as can be. That to me is very iconic.
It works fabulously in this, because talk about freedom. That's what Alberto wants. He wants the freedom to go anywhere he can.
Yeah.
And he thinks that he's stuck if he stays where he is or in the water. So you get this friendship almost immediately upon them meeting, because they're the most opposite characters that you could bring together. Alberto is the one that is not afraid to take chances. He has nothing to lose, while Luca is very much under the fin of his parents still. So he's thinking like, I shouldn't be doing any of this.
No. But this is the heart of this entire movie, is this relationship between these two boys. We've all had, high school friends. And if you are at the one end of the spectrum, like a Luca, who is so sheltered and so kind of afraid to take chances, and then you meet someone like this who is so carefree, like you immediately are drawn to them. You're attracted. My friend John Eckenstern, this was my relationship with my friend John, even though years later I found out that his parents blamed me, that I was somehow the bad influence. He was the bad influence. He made me do stuff I have never thought of doing before or since. It's not really me doing this. My friend is forcing me to do it, or I'm doing it in tandem with them. So this very Stand By Me boy platonic relationship is the entire thrust of this movie.
It is. And it's not so pronounced, but because I had a friendship like this, although mine was in high school, so it was a little bit later. But you, as the more grounded of the two,
I think we both relate more to Luca, right? As the character,
and Luca does this to Alberto. You have just as much of an effect on the outgoing one as the outgoing one does have on you.
Yeah, there's an interesting thing here. We talk about Alberto and the fact that they never really get into like what happened to his parents, or why he is by himself. But he has this saying, Bruno in your head, which is kind of like a Hakuna Matata to me. It's like, it doesn't matter. Just let it go. And you wonder, was that his dad's name? Was his dad like abusive to the point where, this dad was like browbeating this kid to the point, maybe I'm overthinking it, but it's a weird phrase to kind of throw out there with no context. Or did I miss something?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, but this is like his mantra, which is Bruno in your head. Get it out of your head. Just do it.
Because I as well thought that, okay, is Bruno somebody specific? Are we going to be, is this going to be explained to us, what this means? And it never is. It's just something that he says.
And I don't think it needs to be. I think if you started like delving into this, he was abused or whatever, then it would become a different story. You want to keep it lighthearted, which is what this is. This is very, very lighthearted. There's a great scene at night. They're laying out. Now, obviously Luca is coming and going. He is sneaking. He built a rock statue of himself in the gardens to pretend that he's guarding these goatfish or whatever.
Right. And the whole reason he's doing this is to keep them safe from the fishermen. That's why he's a shepherd. It's not like he's eating the fish himself.
No, he's just but the parents are very doting, they're very protective, they're very Marlin over Nemo, and grandma, on the other hand, is a little more in the know, because all grandmas have been around the block. And she kind of knows that he has this little bit of a, I want to check out what's on the surface.
Yeah. If you've seen the Lorax, the updated version of the Lorax that was, 2012, Betty White plays a character very similar to, the grandma that's been around the block and that is the only one that understands in the family.
Yeah. It's like grandpa in what is the vampire movie with the Lost Boys?
Yes.
Grandpa's in on it. He knows what's truly going on. But you know what? You go off and you do your own thing. You discover it for yourself, and then we'll catch up on the back end of the movie. But there's this really cute scene of the two of them, and they're laying underneath the stars. And again, very reminiscent of Simba with Pumbaa and Timon laying underneath the stars. Hey Pumbaa, do you ever wonder what those big lights are up there? You know what? And he tells Luca those are anchovies. And so there's this great dream sequence where they're flying through the air and all the stars are anchovies and the moon is a giant anchovy.
And even before they get there, the whole dream sequence is just so lush because they're driving the Vespa before they make it up into space through like this field of yellow flowers. You know, it was just a sea of yellow. I don't know if it was dandelions or what have you. But then they drive up this huge ramp, and then they're floating in space. And
because there is that nice little sequence where they have cobbled together their own Vespa and they're trying to get it airborne. And poor Luca's down at the bottom holding up the ramp, and it just goes wrong every time. So it was pretty cute.
I would have liked more of that aspect because there is another dream sequence a little bit later. But if they had interjected a few of these, because this director, we haven't mentioned his name yet, Enrico Casarosa,
who I don't know, I don't recognize his name, nor did I do a deep dive on what he's done before. This is his directorial debut.
But he did the short La Luna. So this was him.
Oh, and that's family, beautiful. Yeah.
Harvesting stars.
Yep. Okay.
So, and when you look at that anchovy scene, that harkens directly back to La Luna, and the whole aspect of, you know, looking at the stars and everything else. It made me think of that short immediately, and then it was no surprise when I saw that this was the same guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, one thing we didn't point out, which is I love the fact that they refer to humans as land monsters. I thought that was cute because they're sea monsters, so why wouldn't we be land monsters? Yeah. But you're right. Those dream sequences are very nice and very well done.
But it's right after that first sequence where we see the sea of anchovies that the parents figure out that Luca has been going on the surface, and they threaten to send him away with his uncle Ugo, who is a bottom dweller who lives in the deep, deep, deep water.
Yes. Sacha Baron Cohen, severely underused.
But he's very funny. He
is for the one scene that he's in. Unless you sit through the end credits, then you get an additional Uncle Ugo scene. But beyond that, he's wasted because he's a fun character, right? He's a deep sea. He's got he's an angler fish with a glowing tassel. And at one point he starts gagging or whatever, and the dad's like, "Luca, you got to punch him in the heart. Punch him in the heart." And he's going on poetically about, you know, floating in the abyss in the dark, you know, just eating whale carcass blubber. It is very cute, but I feel, you know, when you bring in a guy like that who just brings it all to whatever he does.
And how he talks when he's talking about the whale carcass, he's like, "You don't even have to try. Open your mouth.
Just open your mouth.
Floats in.
Yeah. Which is funny because I don't like the Borat movies at all. They're cringe. That's cringe.
But look at his character in Hugo.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Hugo.
You know, in King Julian in the Madagascar movies. Yeah. I mean, you know, even what is the race car movie with? Is it Talladega Nights with?
Yes.
You know, he's just so mercurial. He can just become all, and I'm sure he's played other voice characters I can't even bring to mind right now. But he always brings something. Like the guy really. You know, that's what I'm saying. To bring in a character or bring into a voice actor like that for this character, he's such a throwaway character. You want to see more of him.
Yeah. So and
that's all I'm saying.
I did read, well, I wasn't going to bring this up until the end, but I did read that they're eyeing a sequel depending on how well this does. And it may bring Ugo back in a much larger scale.
Okay. Well, let's talk about that a little bit because this is the second movie now from Pixar in the last 2 years that Disney dumped directly on the streaming service and did not give them a theatrical release. And rightfully so. The creative that is attached to this movie are up in arms because you see a movie like Raya and the Last Dragon, which was not a Pixar movie. It's a Disney animated movie. Get a big theatrical release, even though it was premium access first on Disney Plus. They didn't even bother I get it with Soul because Soul came out months ago and we didn't really know what was going on. So let's dump it on Disney Plus, but they didn't even give it a premium access. So Pixar's like, what's going on? It's like, you don't even value what we're bringing to the table.
Yeah. Because if you think about it, Mulan and now Cruella all had premium access releases.
And those are Disney. Those are Disney specific. I mean, yeah, Disney bought Pixar, but Pixar still exists as its own entity. and Pixar's name alone should be enough to get you in the theater. I will say this movie, Luca, is it's very, it's not as heavy-handed as like an Inside Out. It's not as introspective as even like Soul. It is much more, what you see is what you get as far as this movie goes, which is not a bad thing. It is a really beautiful movie to look at. The voice acting, these kids are just killing it, because you completely and utterly believe these kids are not reading lines. They are talking to each other. And especially when you bring in the girl, Julia, like we talked about it, the fact that you're spending 3 years plus of your life on this movie for some studio exec to be like, we're just going to dump that on, why? Because it's not a name brand character. It's not tied into any giant multiverse. But the idea that they're, toiling with giving it a sequel, no. And at this point, if you have Disney Plus, you have Disney Plus. I don't see anybody going out and buying Disney Plus just for this movie.
Or they could say, well, like with The Mandalorian, we saw a lot of statistics on how many subscriptions. Was there an uptick in subscriptions after The Mandalorian was made available?
Right.
Or how many downloads did Luca get? They could look at it that way.
They could. There's gotta be, measurements in place. They have to know how many times I watch it.
But yeah, it's very endearing. It's a very straightforward story. Really, after Luca is told that the Uncle Ugo is going to take him down to the deep water if he doesn't straighten out, he runs away with Alberto, and they go and they become humans in the village. And they meet Julia, who is a human girl who visits her father, her single father, every summer, who lives in the village. And she enters this race every summer, which is like a triathlon. It's like eating,
this is funny.
Biking, and swimming.
I don't know if this really exists, but it's like, swimming, eating, and then biking. So I thought that was kind of cute.
What was the name of it? The cup that you win?
I
didn't write it down
because I don't know if I necessarily wrote it down either.
But yeah, it's a race that takes place every summer, and there's this one bully kid that has a brand new Vespa, and he wins this every year because he has to. Apparently, you don't have to be the only person that. If you have a team, you can work it that way. One person eats. Because it's the whole thing is sponsored by a pasta company. So you eat a bowl full or a plate full of pasta, then there's swimming involved, and then there's a bike race involved. And this one kid, his name is Urkel.
Yeah, Urkel.
He wins this every year in, year out. Julia's always close second, but she never can quite do it.
And they do make a point that she puked last year's tournament.
Because she has no teammates. She's doing everything by herself.
Which doesn't seem fair at all.
No.
It's like, if that's the case, then you either have a team event or you have a singles event. I'm up against somebody who's got 2 other people doing the legwork, and I'm just going to ride the bike at the end. But this character, Ricoli, like, to me, this was straight up Vector from Despicable Me. Jason
yes,
character.
Yeah,
it's just despicable. Like, literally, like, just a stupid bully, a prepubescent bully with a little stupid hair on his mustache that he's not smart enough to shave.
He reminded me of the Dastardly guy from Wacky Racers, right?
With Dick Dastardly.
Yeah.
Like, that should have been Sacha Baron Cohen.
He could have played both.
I don't know who played this character, but he did a damn good job. But like you said, once we meet Julia and we meet her dad and she takes them home, there is these kind of, they're literally fish out of water at this point. Dad's a sea monster hunter. You're introduced to him chopping the heads off fish.
We should point out that he's got one arm.
Oh, one arm. That's right. So at one point, you see the kids, the boys are just like kind of staring at the arm, like, all right, tell us a story on that one. So, but, you barely see his eyes. He's just got these big, burly, bushy eyebrows and a mustache. And then there's a cat, which is hysterical comic relief. And the cat's got the same mustache as the dad.
Then the cat knows there's something up.
Oh, he knows, because they have to smell like sea monsters.
Yeah.
Right. Julia's convinced she just wants to win this race. And she keeps referring to them, we're all underdogs. And so that was a running joke too. We're like, who's under the dog? I want to be dog under. But we see the Donald Duck, like you said, in her room. And then she lets them sleep in the treehouse. They sleep out there underneath the stars. And of course it rains overnight and they turn into sea monsters and have to hide from, everybody at the last second. But that's another dream sequence where they're flying in the Da Vinci wings, like the Leonardo da Vinci flying machines kind of a thing. Which I guess I don't know when this is supposed to, I don't know if there's an actual date.
If you stay and watch the credits, there's little pictures that you see as the credits roll.
Which is really brilliant, and we'll talk about that, which expands on the story. So the movie ends, but then it's kind of like WALL-E, where the end credit graphics tell you what happens after.
What happens after. So, just spoiler alert, you wouldn't be listening to this if you wanted to watch the movie, hopefully. But at the end of the movie, Julia and Luca go off to Julia's school together. Hogwarts. So Luca's going to attend school himself. So there's little pictures of what happens to them, after they go off at the end of the movie. And there's one picture where they're watching the moon landing. So I assume this takes place.
Oh, yeah, got it. Okay, yep.
Late 60s.
Because otherwise there's really no point of reference. There's no pop culture references thrown in there to give you any indication when this actually takes place, which is fine by me. I don't need to know, this exactly took place in 1946, January 1st or something. Once Julia gets involved, Luca really becomes kind of preoccupied with her schooling and the books that she has, and that's really kind of turning. So leave it to a woman to separate two men.
Oh.
that's what this is what's happening.
Well,
is that she's yokoing the relationship.
Luca is realizing that everything Alberto has told him is wrong, because Alberto doesn't have the intricate knowledge of anything.
Right, correct.
He's just making Luca stuff up.
And you do see that from the beginning, that Luca, he's questing for knowledge. He wants to learn more. Yeah, this idea that, he borrows her books, he's reading, she's teaching him stuff. There was a point.
Alberto already has abandonment issues, because his father left him. So he is desperate to hold on to Luca, who is now the only thing really in his life. They're going to do this together, this big road trip, right? So he sees Julia as getting in the way.
This is actually, she's sabotaging, and not purposely.
No.
But this is what happens to a lot of these masculine relationships. Like you said, whether it's, when you were younger or even in high school, eventually you kind of want to do your own thing, and you it's unfortunate. Can we just talk about how the irony of the fact that he's a fish but wants to go to school?
Now also going down that road, early on, Julia's father kind of adopts the two boys, leading up to the race. Mm-hmm. So at one point
he's teaching them, he's making the pasta so they can learn.
Oh, and that pasta looks so good, by the way, the pesto pasta. But he brings them out fishing, and they show him where to catch the fish. I'm like, those are your friends.
Yeah, those are the fish you're supposed to be protecting.
You're selling out your friends.
Yeah, well, this time of day, the fish would be over there.
Yeah.
So sure enough, And this is about the time that mom and dad make it to the surface, right? Mom and dad are like, all right, we know he's up there. We got to go.
Yeah, so mom and dad become human themselves, looking for Luca. So they're throwing kids into the fountain to try to figure out
dumping
which
water
one.
on him. Yeah, because they don't know what he looks like in human form. So they're just throwing water on everybody, hoping that they transform.
Because now we have a plethora of sea monsters living in the town. So we get more sightings of the monsters in the water. And so there's a reward going for the capture of one of these sea monsters. And of course, Hercule takes it upon himself to look for the sea monsters, as well as training for this race. And there is
multitasking apparently.
There's a reveal scene where Alberto has had enough with the friendship that's growing between Julia and Luca, and he reveals himself as a monster, thinking that, okay, once I do this, we're going to have to leave this all behind, and then Luca and I can get on with the business of going around the world.
It's time, playtime's over. Let's go.
And Luca denies him. He denies him.
Oh, that's so heartbreaking. But Julia's not really all that shocked.
No, she's not.
That he's a sea monster. And of course, there he is. He's standing on the shore in full sea monster form. And he's like, Luca, come on, let's go. And he's like shaking his head like, no, I'm not going back with you. And it really is heartbreaking because, like you said, the kid's already got abandonment issues.
Yeah.
Now his buddy, the one guy who's going to free him, they're going to go off together, saying no. And so he slunks back to the island.
But like you said, Julie doesn't really care one way or the other. If Luca had revealed himself, she wouldn't have cared then. And she doesn't really care that Alberto is a sea monster.
She's pretty single-minded about this race at this point.
But Alberto does have to leave because Hercule is there and sees him and tries to kill him.
They're throwing spears at him and stuff.
Alberto brings the drama. His character keeps it from being completely light and frothy. And you never really know, and we did touch on this before, but you never really know why his father left or what the circumstances were. So they kind of leave that vague. But it sounded like his father was very much a free spirit and wanted Alberto to live life on his own and was teaching him, was trying to get him ready for life on his own. Not just like that he left, like he was preparing him that he was going to leave.
Kick him out of the nest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess some kids could see that as abandonment. All right, it's all in the eye of the beholder.
So it's not as dark as, my father, was killed by a fisherman or whatever.
Right, correct. Yeah. And I saw him hanging on in the fishing boat upside down. I love Orca. Oh, man. But this is where, and this is only like an hour and a half. This is really in and out.
An hour, 41 minutes.
Hour, 41 minutes.
Yes.
And it really is nice and tight. There's not a lot of fat on it at all. But now we get into this race, which is probably the most fun in this whole movie. Now Julia was forced when Alberto left to because obviously these two can't swim, because at some point Julia also realizes that Luca is a sea monster. Yeah. So originally she was going to do the swimming. Yep. Was Luca going to do the eating, or was Luca they were teaching Luca how to ride the bike.
Right, that's right. And then Alberto was
doing the eating. And that is cute too, because every time he was, you get these montages of the dad cooking up every time they walk in the door, he's got giant bowls of pasta for them to eat. And it took like however long for him to even realize to twist the fork with the pasta around it. But meanwhile, the cat is like attacking him at every turn.
Well, it really has to be pasta, because imagine if he tried to feed them fish.
I mean, he was cutting up all that fish. Listen, there might be some, but what are they eating underwater? They gotta be eating seaweed. How much nutrients are you getting from seaweed?
I don't know.
A sea cow. So yeah, this is where we get into the race, and this is a lot of fun. This really is a lot of fun. It's slapsticky in certain parts. We get Alberta coming back in a Han Solo like save at the end.
Yes,
because it starts raining. And poor Luca transforms into a sea monster.
Because, of course,
in front of everybody.
It had to happen. He's got to reveal himself as well as Alberto.
Yeah.
So, but everybody is accepting in the town. So
because half of them were sea monsters.
Half of them were already sea monsters.
Including Grandma, who goes up there on the weekends. Yeah.
Now, the reason that Luca and Alberto even wanted to join the race was to get the prize money in order to buy a used Vespa.
Yeah, because they had no concept that you could actually take money and buy something with it. But the Vespa they were looking at was a beat up piece of crap.
But still a Vespa, the same.
Yeah.
They win the race, and everybody is accepting them of being sea monsters. It's actually the dad who you think is going to be the one that's most against this, that declare them the winners, right? Yeah. So he's the one that kind of brings the town on board. Yeah. He's the last voice that says, okay,
but I think part of that is he sees the relationship between the two boys and his daughter, and they're toward the end. She's in second place. Luca's in front, and Hercule crashes her bike. Luca stops and goes back to help her. Alberto as well. So the three of them basically limp across the finish line together.
I think Julia's dad sees in Alberto more so than Luca, like a son figure, because we've already seen him bringing them fishing and like bringing them along with him on his normal routine, because he only gets Julia during the summer. He's by himself the rest of the year.
Yeah, that is right. She goes, I guess her mom lives somewhere near the school.
Right. So he has just as many. I'm sure he has the same abandonment issues.
Yeah, you're right about that, because there is that scene where Alberto wants one of his knives, you know, this guy's got like state-of-the-art cutting knives over here. You know, he's a fisherman. Alberto stays with him and kind of learns the way. And you do see it, you know, him presenting a knife to Alberto.
In the end, Luca does end up going to school with Julia.
And that is because Alberto sells the Vespa to buy a train ticket for his friend. I got goosebumps right now. I just got goosebumps. Talking about this movie has made it at least 2 buckets more than what I was going to give it.
With the complete blessing of his parents, by the way, who are now fine with him going off to school because they don't want to stand in the way of his dreams. Yeah. Alberto is fine with it. As you said, he buys him a train ticket, but he's fine with it because he's no longer abandoned. He is now basically the son of Julia's dad. So now he has a full-time child as well as Julia, who only is able to come to him on the summer vacation.
Definitely sets it up for a sequel, even though, again, in the end credits, you do see a lot of the shenanigans going on, you know, with Luca and Julie at school, you know, and at one point you actually see him reveal himself as a sea monster to his classmates or whatever.
In the pictures that you see.
Yeah. No, they're all like little still. I'm sorry. It's all told in little, almost like, I want to say like the end of Wall-E. Once they get back to Earth, like their story continues, but it's in these graphics hidden within the credits.
Right.
And they're all still little illustrations, but it definitely expands upon the story. So if they don't do anything more with this and they never make a sequel or whatever, I'm completely content knowing that these characters went on to live fruitful lives.
I really liked it because, you know, as we were talking about, we both identified with the male friendship between Luca and Alberto. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there's been a trend in a couple of movies. The one that we watched last week, Maleficent, even though that's from 2014, and Frozen as well, that's female familial ties, you know, the love of between sisters or between a mother and a daughter. And this is the first time like that I've been very engaged in a story that focuses on friendships between boys since Stand By Me. Right? We mentioned that.
I did mention Stand By Me because that is the relationship between these two. It's innocent platonic love between these two. They're kindred spirits. And
this is what angers me so, because getting ready for this show this morning, I was looking at some reviews out there. The headline reads, Luca proves Disney's Pixar wasn't brave enough to fully commit to their first queer animated film.
Oh, come on. Why do we need to take that extra? Why do we?
So they're reading into it that because they have a hidden side, the sea monster side.
Right.
And that they're denying their feelings between each other. But the director goes on to say that was not the intent at all. That it's, like you said, the key word is platonic, very platonic relationship. And it's, you know, a friendship between two males. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that they have sexual feelings for each other, you know? Not that would be wrong. Not that would be wrong.
At all. But that's not the story.
Not the intent
of this story. And all I got to say to that is, what's wrong with you, stupid? Whatever. Okay.
This is universal. This is, you know, especially if you've had a friendship like this.
We all have.
Yeah.
We all had. He is heavily influenced, he said, by the Studio Ghibli. A lot of the anime, especially the Miyazaki stuff. And you can see a lot of Ponyo in this with that, literally the fish out of water, the sea spirit that longs to understand what the humans are and whatnot. To me, it's the underlying message is accepting who you are. You know, we're all
which is the message of so many.
Yeah, I mean,
Disney
listen, Alberto's broken. We've all had horrible backstories. You learn from it, or you give into it and you use it as an excuse.
Yes. John Ratzenberger.
Wait, was he?
No, second Pixar film he was not in.
What? Oh, why?
Soul being the first.
See, and this is why they're not getting a theatrical release. You got to bring the Ratzenberger back in. Why is it? It's not like he probably had a contract. That was just a magical
doesn't
thing.
Doesn't say why he's not in these, but
he's not busy. He's not doing anything.
But the director says that he is trying to start a new tradition of using animator Peter Sohn in every movie, and he plays one of the two kids that are hanging around Urkel. So did anybody ask Ratzenberger about his opinion?
Right.
What do you mean a new tradition?
He's been a good luck charm since day one. Come on, you wouldn't. Well, listen, we're going to talk about our next movie. So
So some of the reviews, other than the one that we just talked about, are on the fence about this. Time Out says that it's a letdown, and it's definitely not Pixar firing on all cylinders.
Well, like I said earlier, it's not the heavy-handed Inside Out. It's not, Soul. Soul was unlike, that Ratatouille, where you're taking these ideas, but you're just turning things on its head and it becomes very introspective. This, by and large, what you see is what you get. It's a relationship between two boys. It's beautiful to look at, and it doesn't require a lot of.
Yeah, and a lot of the reviews are giving it like backhand compliments, like Hollywood Reporter. The real magic of Luca is in the visuals. And it's true that there's magic in the visuals, but I think that the story is overlooked, and I think that it is very powerful.
Yeah.
If given a chance.
Yes, I agree. I like I said before, I have raised my buckets just on our conversation between the two of us.
So how many buckets would you
I'm
give?
going 4.25.
4.25. I am going to go 3.5.
Which is good for you.
Which is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, did your son watch this?
Yes, he did. He loved it because usually I'm glad to say that he's past the too cool for school kind of phase that he was in.
It'll come back. It'll come back. Don't worry.
When you ask him, how'd you like it? Oh, it was okay.
Yeah.
This time I asked him how he liked it. He's like, I liked it. Like it was
Good.
like steadfast.
Like I'm not playing
Yeah.
cool. I'm not
Yeah.
downplaying it. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. Then he goes to his friend, you gotta watch Luca. No, it's not one of their top movies. I agree with that. But again, 24 movies in, Pixar has rarely stubbed their toe. So.
Yeah, the only Pixar I think that really didn't live up to expectations for me was Good Dinosaur. I think that's one of the few times.
See, I did like that, but again,
so?
I didn't see it. I didn't see it in the theater. It was cute for what it was. Again, that's another kind of accepting who and what you are. You know, he wants to pretend he's a dinosaur. Fine, let's pretend you're Arlo, right?
Yeah.
And they're all on Disney Plus. I don't think there's anything missing except
if you're trying to watch Maleficent.
I think all three Cars movies are on there. By the time you got to the third, I don't even remember. Did I even see the third Cars?
I don't think I've seen the second Cars.
Oh, that's actually Cars 2 is actually really well done.
Was that
that's
the one
like
with Michael Caine? Was that the Michael Caine one?
Yes. You got a lot of James Bond kind of references going on there. It's more of a Tow Mater movie than it is Lightning McQueen.
Now I am primed to talk about Monsters, Inc.
Yeah, let's go.
So let's go to the concession stand. We'll come back and we'll talk Monsters.
All right,
Inc.
sounds good. Some pasta.
The progress in engineering technique and the study of streamlining have determined the evolution of the vehicle. From this evolution of modern technique was born the Vespa. Handlebar die-cast in one single piece. Vespa. Monocoque body, as in the modern automobile technique. Vespa. Efficient and comfortable suspension. Vespa. Engine operating directly on the wheel. No chain, no vibrations. Vespa. Vespa, the most sold motor scooter in the world. Vespa. 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 Vespa.
All right, we're back. 2001.
2001. Yes, that is. So that kind of blows me away a little bit when I think about that, because that was 20 years ago. But this was the very first movie my daughter ever saw in the theater. And they were not even 2.
This is a great movie to be your first. It really is.
I think that Nemo had a bigger impact, but then again, Nemo came out in 2003, and they were a little bit older. I remember coming home from Nemo and my daughter immediately drawing that damn anglerfish. 3 years old, this kid is drawing the fish that they saw on screen. So, but Monsters Inc., this heavy rotation in my house. Like you said, you owned a DVD. We owned the DVD. I have watched this ad nauseum. I know this movie inside and out. And yet watching it on Disney Plus was like watching it again for the first time.
This is a movie that does not age.
No.
If I had 10 kids, I'd watch it with every single one of them, you know?
Yeah, no, it does defy age. And as far as like, you get, oh, this is for 4-year-olds or this is for 6-year-olds. Or when you get to a certain age, you're going to outgrow it kind of a thing. This is a movie. The wife and I sat here and watched it yesterday, just the two of us. And we still chuckled at all the same stupid jokes.
This is very early on in the Pixar animated pantheon of feature length I'm talking about. So we had Toy Story, right?
Yep.
We had Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, and then Monsters came after that. So it was really the fourth. Yeah.
Every one of those movies out of the ballpark.
History hasn't been kind to Bug's Life, but that is one of my favorites. It really is.
Flick. Yeah. Well, that's because they just
you know why? Because
that
that damn ants came out at the same time. That's the reason.
Is that the Woody Allen one?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that Bug's Life doesn't get the notoriety that it deserves.
Because no one can differentiate between the two.
Because they were thinking, there's two. It's like when we got 2 Meteor movies in the same summer. It's like they negated each other.
Deep Impact. They should have just collided.
I still like Deep Impact to this day better than Armageddon.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I will go down with that.
Throwing some serious shade on Bruce Willis there. Armageddon. I saw that in the theater in Manhattan. 97?
90. It was
I'm
late 90s.
hanging my head on 97.
Late
I could
90s.
be wrong. I could be wrong. But we also had the 2 Volcano movies that came out the same time.
That's
Dante's
right.
Peak and Volcano.
That's right.
Yeah, a little Pierce Brosnan versus Tommy Lee Jones.
So yeah, we had 2 animated ant movies at the same time.
Yeah, but only one Monsters Inc. movie.
Only one Monsters Inc.
Yes.
Yes.
And this is Peter Docter who directed this, and now he pretty much he's pretty high up there.
And this was his first directing.
I believe that is correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And co-directors were Silverman and Unkrich Lee. And even the minute the credits start rolling on this, the minute the opening where you get the little flute and the little cartoon monster, the little sea monsters swimming around eating the words.
Yeah. And I love the fonts that they use. Yeah. And it reminds me, it is so Disneyfied because it's a very 50s sensibility. And it reminds me of, that classic Disneyland sign that has the separate letters.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. This is like a 50s classic Disney sensibility, right?
But you're right in the sense that it's timeless because there's nothing here that adheres it to a specific time. Everything is just, it exists in its own world. Well, the monsters by and large, but even in the human world, there's nothing really that says this is the 90s or this screams 2000s. It is
because you don't see anything of the human world except the bedrooms of the kids.
Yeah, you got the Eiffel Tower, you got some good things going on there, but you got the Mom, there's another gator in the house. That was a trailer left over from Bug's Life, by the way. When Flick was making his way into town and the little bug got stuck up in the bug zapper light.
Yes.
That's where that's
the same trailer?
Yeah, it is the same trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's actually where you see the Planet Pizza truck. I did not catch a Planet Pizza truck, by the way. They probably did away with that too.
Is it Planet Pizza or Pizza Planet?
Pizza Planet. I can never remember. It's 2 P's in a row. But the truck is in every movie. It's a Easter egg. So
was it in Luca?
That's what I'm saying. I don't remember seeing it in Luca. So you get rid of Ratzenberger and you get rid of the Pizza Planet. Yeah. See, that's bad mojo. No wonder why you're going directly to Disney Plus. Step up your game. But we open up. This is one of those scenes that my daughter, probably to this day, the minute the stupid monster shows up in shadow to scare the kid in the bed, runs upstairs to the top of the stairs and would sit there until he did his scare and then come back down.
But would she wait until the entire scene was over? Because it goes into slapstick almost immediately, like as soon as the kid screams.
Yeah. I don't know if it's the eyeballs or if it was the scream.
Or the ominous shadow, like creeping, creeping up.
Or the music for that matter.
Yeah.
The music that plays up. So, but we realized pretty quickly that it's a simulation. This is the one down. This is where Pixar had not yet perfected the human look. And they all kind of look like Andy. Just a little starry-eyed, we get the only human we get is Boo. So all the other ones I can buy because they're simulations. So maybe monsters don't exactly know, they're afraid of humans. They think that they're poisonous and
Yeah.
that they're toxic. So,
But at the same time, it is a step up from Andy in the original Toy Story and the
Yeah.
humans in the original Toy
but it's
Story.
still,
So they're
it's still-
improving.
yeah.
At the time when you're watching this, you're like, this is fabulous.
Oh, absolutely. Look at that. Look at the look at the emoting on that character. Can you tell me what you did wrong, Mr. Bile? My friends call me Phlegm.
Which is
Yes.
now the monsters themselves, they're in terms of their physicality, they're very rudimentary. So this lends itself to that Pixar animation. So the monsters are spot on, crisp, clean with their movements, because there's not much there. Like they're either
Yeah.
blobs, they're very simple shapes.
Yeah,
except
I mean, yeah.
for Sully. Now Sully is a masterpiece.
Yeah, do you know, I just read this, which is, this is just blows my mind. It took 11 to 12 hours of rendering for one frame of Sully because of all of his hair.
That is what I'm getting at.
That is just
you get hypnotized looking at
he
these.
had 2.3 million individual strands of hair on this character.
Especially the scene where he's waking up and you actually see it's Mike that's pretending that he's the radio announcer.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you see his, like, as he's snoring, the hair on
the
his
hair.
forearm.
Oh, the
forearm
hair it never
glowing.
stops undulating. The hair is
Yeah.
constantly moving. And again, for a movie I've seen a billion times, and I'm probably underestimating, watching this on Disney Plus, you get sucked into those details. You get sucked into that color, and you're just like, wow. It's just like there's a scene where at the end when Randall gets thrown through the door, there's a Nemo doll hanging. I've never seen that before in my life. Like there's a Nemo elsewhere in the movie, but that's the first time I've ever noticed that.
I didn't see that myself.
Yeah. So, but you're right. This within the first minute, you understand the entire plot of this movie.
The whole conceit of that scene is a simulation, as you said,
Yep.
where they're training new recruits in Monsters Inc. because
Yeah.
you need to get scares, screams from these kids in order to power society back in this monsterverse, and that's what Monsters Inc. does. It's like the Central Hudson of
Well, they're
of
like Ma Bell
Monsterland.
because it's a monopoly. Apparently,
Yeah.
if they go under, then no one has energy. It's like no one else has decided to do this. Like they just like they're the only ones who have a patent on these doors. But go back to Water News because his design is brilliant. Absolutely, the crab legs, the multiple eyes. James Coburn, which I think this was his last movie. I'm not entirely positive.
Yeah,
That
I
character
don't know
just-
that either.
That character just like works. He's
And
got
it's
the
saying
vest,
something-
He's got the little working vest.
That he's pretty much the only monster here that looks frightening. Even Randall is not really frightening, but
I don't know if I'm
Water
a little
News
6-year-old
is.
kid and saw that thing crawling through my
Yeah, that's
closet.
true,
I
yeah.
may be a little sketchy, you know. I mean, some of them, yeah. But like you said, by and large, the monsters are very simplistic in their shapes.
yes.
But it's not. But they're all different shapes. Celia with the snakes. You know, Jennifer Tilly, who just kills it as this character.
But they're all like akin to each other as well. So you can tell that they're part of one world. You know,
Yeah,
it's
but you
not
never
like
see
that they're
you
all.
never see like two of the same monster.
No, you do not. But they all have similarities to them, like in their
Right.
design.
Yeah. But like you said, Sully is so obviously John Goodman and Billy Crystal, who plays Mike Wazowski. And he's simplistic in the sense he's just a bowling ball. At one point, Sully actually carries him like a bowling ball.
He looks like a pear. That's what he looks like.
Oh,
to
that's
me.
true. Yeah, well, but again, looking at the skin modeling, you know, when you really start looking at this stuff, and I'm just like, there's folds on the heels of his feet, and you're just like, the level of detail that is in there, and has just been lost to watching this on VHS and DVD.
Yeah. But as you said, like in this opening scene, you get the setup of this world immediately. So you know what's going on, you know what Monsters Inc. means, and then the camera like pulls back so you see the workings of this factory, and you are introduced to Sully and Mike. Sully is like the star of Monsters Inc. He's the one that gets the most scares, and there's a competition like up. There's a board up every day of how many points you
got
get
it. Yeah,
for
I'm
scares.
sure every factory's like that. How many widgets can you make today?
Yeah.
Bob made 3,000 yesterday. What's
And-
your quota?
Yeah, he's always the scarer of the month, and Randall is completely jealous of him, and he's always nipping at his heels and trying to beat Sully.
Who is brilliantly played by Steve Buscemi.
Yes.
Early Steve Buscemi, like not the creepy Buscemi we saw later. He's playing it kind of straight, but
He's like
schmarmy.
Lebowski Buscemi.
Yeah. Yeah, but we have a scream shortage, right? That's the whole point, is because there's a little scene after, like you said, Mike wakes up Sully. He puts him through his like little rigorous routine, bunk beds, top bunk. I used to scream that at my daughter when they were practicing warming up for basketball, and I would scream bunk beds, and I would get the stink eye of death. Like, really, Dad, really, this is where we're going. But yeah. Because there's a whole thing where Mike has a brand new car, and he's like, "No, there's a scream shortage. We got to walk to work.
We got to walk to work." He's like, "This is why I bought a car, because I want to drive."
There's Ted. Morning, Ted. Ted walks to work. Yeah, Ted's a giant. He looks like Godzilla. You just see the feet, but he caws like a chicken.
Yeah, he's like, Ted takes 5 steps. He's there.
Yeah. So that Ted may be my favorite character in this whole movie. But Pixar is always known for the little back end, the little short movies that they would put in the front. And I think, was it Mike's new car was attached to the DVD on this? That was actually supposed to be in the movie, and it was too long and they cut it. So they made it its own little short. You do see the car because he wants to drive it to work. So,
but it's important to note that Mike is not a scarer himself.
No, he's more like in management, right? It's almost like a boxer, and they have a promoter, or they have a manager, or they have. Yeah. So you've got scarers, but then you have these other guys who are like their assistants,
who have to hand in their paperwork to Roz, who is a great character. And if anybody has ever listened to one of our early TMI ads,
that's right, Danielle killed it.
Danielle, who was on the first 10 episodes of our show as a full up member of TMI,
but only vocal in 2.
Only vocal in 2. Actually does a great Roz impersonation. So you should go back and listen to go to our earliest episodes, find our 3 or 4 ads, and it's one of them. Yes. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. I'm watching you, Wazowski. And that was just a temporary track. That was one of the animators doing the voice with every intention that it was going to be redubbed by an actor. And they just got to the point where like, no, this is too good. We got to just leave it.
Yeah.
So
we get the setup, right, of what goes on a day-to-day basis in Monsters, Inc. and who these 2 characters are. And we also meet Mike's girlfriend, who is
Celia,
who's the receptionist, right, at Monsters, Inc.
Oh, schmoopsie poo.
And they have a date. They have a dinner date at Harryhausen's.
Yes, which is a great little reference.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's their anniversary. He's all excited.
But Roz needs her paperwork, and Mike hasn't filed it yet. So Mike begs Sully to do that for him so he can make his dinner date. And Sully says yes, and this sets the events in motion for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Morning, Roz, my succulent little garden snail. I want to say a lot of this was probably ad-lib. This was one of the first animated movies that allowed the 2 main actors in the booth together. That's never been done.
I'm glad to hear that, because
and I think that Frank Oz and Steve Buscemi, who played Randall and his cohort Fungus, did the same thing. Because up to this point, you bring in an actor, you bring in a Tom Hanks, and he just reads lines. Someone's behind a booth, and all right, here's Woody's line, or here's Buzz's line, and then you react to it 5 different times. We're gonna pick and choose. We're gonna take. But because these 2 had such a relationship, and it was so, Billy Crystal's notorious for being off the cuff and for, improvising. He was at the time, he was right up there with probably Robin Williams, and they just let these guys riff. And so a lot of that stuff, a lot of that interaction between these 2 characters is organic and was not on the page.
I never knew this. This was like a mind-blowing thing, is that they offered Buzz Lightyear to Billy Crystal, and he turned it down. And then he regretted it. Of course you'd regret it.
Yeah. And especially when you see what they did with it. Right. Toy Story was revolutionary. But if someone sat down and said, no, we're not drawing this, it's going to be computer. Up to that point, computer drawings or renderings were pretty rudimentary. So you're like, that sounds like a hard pass to me.
But the thing I can't imagine is him playing Buzz Lightyear. It just doesn't.
It would have been, no, you're right.
I can't conceive
because you can't separate Tim Allen from him at this point. But it would have been interesting. What is interesting is that Sully was offered to Bill Murray. Do you know this?
I do know this. Yeah.
Yeah, he basically came in, he tested. They said, we love it. Couldn't get a hold of him. So they just assumed that he was turning it down because he never answered their phone call. Bill Murray, that's how Bill Murray operates.
We still don't know if he's in the new Ghostbusters coming out.
No.
I don't think that's ever been confirmed.
I don't think he knows. Yes. So you're right. But the whole concept of this scare floor is genius. So they've just got, if a kid has a closet, they have a subsequent door that they can pull down, computer archives or whatever. It's in this vast warehouse. You pull out the little key card, that door comes down. Each one of the scares basically has their own clientele, because when he meets Boo, she draws a picture of Randall. Goes, oh, Randall's your monster. So it's not like random monsters are coming through your closet door every night. You're constantly getting the same monster. And the whole point is to scare the crap out of these kids so they scream. And then they harness the scream and it produces energy.
They are terrified of the kids at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they are told
that they are
the
toxic.
Kid is death. So if the kid touches you, it's instant death.
Yes. And the running joke with poor Georgie, 2319, because he comes out, I'm feeling good today, Joey. And he turns around, he's got a sock stuck
now,
to
this
him.
is probably the most, besides the door chase at the end, this scene with George with the sock stuck to his back is probably the most memorable visual for me from this entire movie. I love this sequence.
Yeah, because the CDC, just which is the child detection agency, just they're all in hazmat suits. They just rappel through the windows. Boom, Georgie's in a contamination curtains. They shave him down and spray him. They blow up the sock.
Now let's talk about Randall's plan, his evil plot, because when Sully stays late to file Mike's paperwork, he never actually does it because he sees that there's a door on the scare floor and everybody's long since gone home for the night. But there's a door and it's Boo's door. So he, innocently opens it up. It's like, is anybody working in here? And he doesn't see a kid. He doesn't see anybody in this bedroom. Closes the door. Boo's attached to him because secretly she did sneak out. But what was Randall's? Was he always trying to kidnap her to get her into the scream extractor?
I guess that's the case because you see their numbers up on the board. So, I mean, they know the numbers to the 0.1 degree of what, where you are on the leaderboard. So if he was going to cheat and somehow try and break Sully's numbers, like you would just come into work the next day and it's like, oh, how did Randall get an extra 5,000 points? So yeah, apparently he was extracting these children just so he could take them to this elaborate scream extractor.
Well, and it seemed like this was the first kid that he was going to do this to.
Yeah, it wasn't very well thought out.
So, but you do see, like after Sully leaves, Randall comes, opens the door, looks around. There's no kid, and he just goes, whatever. And then he
leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was supposed to be like some secret thing that he's
you'd think he'd be crushed off. Like, where's the kid? This is going to ruin my plan.
Or put the door back.
Yeah.
He just left the door there.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So now we got a human loose in the world, in the monsterverse. And
now we have a great scene in Harryhausen's where it all breaks loose because Sully has her in a bag and brings her to Mike because he knows where they are.
Right.
Because he doesn't know what to do.
He breaks in on their date.
Yeah.
And he's like, Ookle in the bagley.
Yeah. He's like, what?
What? And it's funny because I actually paused it when they're hiding in Harryhausen's and they're using the menu to talk behind Celia's back. And he's trying to get him to look in the bag. I was trying to write down the things that were on the menu.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the only thing I saw was a goo tofu and vegetable to pukey. Otherwise, there was nothing really clever there. I was hoping that I would have stumbled across something a little more,
a little more Easter eggy.
Yeah. They weren't really that.
But so
you're
they
right.
get
This
they get Boo out of the restaurant, but yeah, as they're walking down the street, they see like a whole bubble has come over Harryhausen's, and they're doing the same thing that they did to Sanderson. But they bring her back home. They don't know what to do with her, right? So then you're like in Mr. Mom territory, you know.
This whole sequence is hysterical. You know, Mike is completely covered in oven mitts, and he's got, you know, swim flippers on and goggles and anything to keep him from being touched by this kid.
And he's got the spray, whatever that is. And
I don't know,
spraying
like
his own eye
or something. Yeah.
And then there's that scene where Boo tries to take Mike's one-eyed bear, teddy bear.
Was that like the original Ugly Doll?
It may have been. It may have been.
That might have been where they came from.
Mike's not having it.
Little Mikey. No one touches little Mikey.
Yep. And she starts to scream and cry. And then they're trying to get her to stop because the lights are blowing up, like at the noise that she's making. And they finally get her to laugh. Then suddenly the lights flare and explode. And there's like a power
What was
outage.
that? I don't know, but don't let her do it again.
So you're getting foreshadowing of what
absolutely.
is revealed at the end.
So they're laying all the groundwork. You don't really have to do too much work here.
They're contaminated now, right? So they have to keep this a secret because they're going to get banished. Look what happened to Bigfoot. Abominable. Loch Ness. Yeah.
Yep. That would have been fun to see a Loch Ness monster in there.
So the plot from this point on is the next day they decide to go back to Monsters, Inc. to get her back in her door. So like it never happened. And this is really the rest of the movie, is them trying to get her door to get her back into her bedroom.
Right.
Which is great because, you know, we were talking about how streamlined Luca was. This is only 92 minutes. So this is a master class in pacing your movie correctly. And
there's a lot of action going on here.
There is.
Luca, there's a lot of downtime. Luca, there's a lot of character building or whatever. This is like, especially like you said, once they're back in Monsters Inc. and they're trying to get her back to, all they're trying to do is get her door. They need to they have her disguised as a monster. They, you know, created this little costume for her. Just boom, get her in, get her home, wipe the door, destroy the door or whatever, and we're good.
And at some point, she sneaks off and joins a school trip or something.
That's what I took.
And Sully thinks that she's gone into the garbage chute. And there's a great scene where he faints like 3 different times because he's seeing what's happening to the garbage that goes in the chute.
Oh, I know.
And it comes out like a cube. And my son is like, "Hey, that's an Easter egg, Wally." I'm like, "No, this came out before Wally, so it's not really." But
yeah, no, it does look like the little cubes he made with the little eyeball hanging out. You know, indicating that she had been crushed.
So Sully's like brings this cube to Mike, and Sully's like, "I can still hear her voice," and all of a sudden you hear a little Mike Wazowski, and Mike Wazowski, like, "Oh, I hear it too. How many kids you got in there?" Because
all the kids are singing Mike Wazowski. So, but this is the scene where they're arguing. Now they're in the workplace. Now it's at one point they show it's like 10 to noon. Shouldn't you be working? Like you should be on the scare floor.
Yeah,
people missing the fact that you're not working.
Because Sully is also supposed to train all the new recruits that day because he sees Water News. He's like, "Oh, you're going to be there
in our training,
right?"
Yep. So, but this is where they're arguing, and Mike yells at him, you know, "Put that thing back where it came from, or she'll help me." And they're like, "What are you guys talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, we're rehearsing the office play. You know, she's out of our hair." It's just. And then they double down on that in the end credits where they actually show the play that he does.
Now, I was going to mention this at the end, but the Disney Plus version doesn't have any of that in the end. It's just credits because from what I was reading,
maybe it was on the DVD.
It is because it's on my DVD. But when the movie was first released for the first couple of months, the prints didn't have anything in the end credits, and then. I think 2 months into its release, they added all that stuff into the end credits.
Gotcha.
So we have the original version on Disney Plus.
Okay. But yeah, that is to me one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
So,
but not long after that, you get the actual plot of Randall. So he's got a scream extractor that he's going to suck the screams out of these children that he kidnaps, and that's what he meant to do with Boo.
Yeah, he accidentally kidnaps Mike, thinking that it's Boo.
Yeah.
Boo, which is who Sully named her, by the way. You named it? He's like, you can't name it. You got feelings for it. Yeah. But she calls it Kitty Kitty.
Yeah.
So the little girl, Mary
Gibb.
Mary Gibb, she was little, and they could not keep her still in the recording booth. So they basically just chased her around while she played in with a microphone.
And that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like.
She's straight up gibberish.
Yeah.
She is like a 3-year-old. Yeah. Yep.
But the one of the funniest things in this movie is that scene with the scream extractor, and Fungus ends up in the seat.
Oh, I know, with
Mike.
his lips. That is funny when Rando's like, "You one-eyed cretin." He's like, "I'm pretty sure it's cretin." Yeah. So all hell's breaking loose. Mike is being tormented by this damn scream extractor, and poor Sully gets sucked into. He's trying to get Water Noose involved to let him know what's going on,
because he thinks that will solve everything if he just can tell Water Noose.
Go to the head of the company.
Water Noose is in on it.
Yeah, but not before Boo gets a living crap scared out of her by Sully, because he barges in with her in a little alien costume, and he's trying to get Water Noose, and Water Noose is running the simulation. He's like, "Oh, James, you're here! Come on, roar! Give us a roar!"
Show him how it's done.
And he kind of just rolls his eyes, and he lets out this monstrous, like, guttural, and all you see is poor Boo's face, like, "Holy Kitty, I don't like you anymore."
It's revealed that Water Noose is in on the plot with Randall, and they
How
vanish.
could this happen in my factory?
Yep.
I am
so he grabs Boo, and they banish Sully and Mike.
Yes, where they encounter the
Ratzenberger.
Man. Yeah. Why is it abominable? Why can't it be adorable, agreeable? Yeah, and that's Ratzenberger at his best. Welcome to the Himalayas. And a running joke with the lemon ice.
Yeah, do you want a snow cone? It's lemon. Come on.
Yeah, okay. Where are you getting lemon out here, buddy? I'm gonna go outside and make more snow cones. We know what you're doing. But he talks that great story where he talks about his buddy Bigfoot, who was also banished, fashioned a tiara out of poison ivy.
Like a diaper.
A diaper.
It was a diaper out of poison ivy that he put on his head like a tiara.
Like a tiara. There you go.
It was a little bit too easy for them to get back to Monsters Inc.
Because the minute that the snowman said, "Oh, there's a little town down there. It's really cute." And once they realized that there's closet door, that's all it takes for them to, it's a portal.
But the door has to be on back at the factory in order for it to work. Right? The red light has to be on.
That is the good point. Because toward the end they all get turned on. So that's when the epic Scooby-Doo door through the door chase sequence takes place.
And there's only
I guess you're right.
There's only like 10 stations on the scare floor.
Which
at any
is
one
weird.
Given time.
Like you would think there'd be multiple floors.
Yeah.
If they're powering an entire Monstropolis or whatever the city is.
Well, maybe there's different. Maybe there are different locations, but only like the superstars are in this one.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get that hero walk at the beginning.
Yes.
And it's like, I feel like that sometimes when I walk into my building, like the preload, all the drivers come walking in, they're like, "Oh, so cool." At least in my head, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're like, "Oh, here comes these jerks. Gonna complain about my load quality again." Oh man. Yes. So this is where the relationship starts. So Fractor, just like in Luca, which is, Julia's kind of separated. Now Boo is separating their relationship because Sully just wants to get her home. And Mike is like, "What are you talking about? Who cares about this stupid kid? We're banished. We're done. Everything we worked for is over. None of that matters. None of it matters. I'm never going to see Celia again."
It's sad because Mike tells him, "You want to go freeze out there? Be my guest."
Yeah.
And turns his back on him. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not. Why am I putting my neck out? He doesn't even have a neck, but why is he putting his neck out for this little kid? It's causing him nothing but grief.
But apparently, Mike does end up finding the same closet that Sully does because Mike is inexplicably back as well after Sully.
And that's another nice one where Randall, who can turn invisible and has camouflage, is literally beating the crap out of Sully. I don't buy this for a bit, but Mike comes back and he starts throwing snowballs and he's yelling at him. Not realizing that he's being choked to death by Randall.
Because then he just happens to hit Randall, so Sully can see him.
Yep.
If he's breathing in your ear anyway, correct, I think you'd know where his face is.
You would know. Yeah. I would just be swinging, but regardless, it's a nice reveal. The boys are reunited. This to me is one of the greatest sequences in Pixar history. This whole chase scene in this factory with these doors, they're jumping through doors from one place, like the one at one point, the door is laying flat. So when he falls through it, he falls and then just lays on his, like flaps on his back. He's like, well, that was weird, in Paris.
That's where you see the Eiffel Tower in the background. Yeah.
But it's Randall's chasing him, Boo's screaming, the three of them, they're just trying to find her door. And it's so well done. It is like, you can't help but be like invested in these characters at this point.
I know. And it's just like a giant roller coaster, right? Because they're both gripping onto these doors. And this is where you're getting that full fur flying, motion.
And it's just vast. You're just seeing just a wall of a million doors. And like you said, like these, when you go to the dry cleaners and they rotate around your clothes on those racks, but it's the doors flying around. And I wonder if this was released in 3D, because that sequence alone.
It was re-released 6 months before Monsters University came out.
Okay.
And it was given
which
a 3D
was like 12
release.
years later.
Yeah.
That came out in 2013, which is actually a really good movie as well. I think in this movie, Mike does make a mention that, we've been buddies since the 4th grade or something like that. But in Monsters University, that's where they meet, is in college. They kind of negated that. You take every Scooby-Doo episode where they're running from door to door and just notching it up 1,000 degrees. So, and it's fun. And this is where we see the trailer park. Like I said, the trailer from Bug's Life. That's where poor Randall.
Yeah, this is where Randall ends up banished.
Yes.
And then they coerce Waternoose into a confession.
That, which is actually genius. That he lures him back to the simulator, but puts a fake door there. So he thinks he's just entering another one. And they record the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is also where it's revealed that Roz is secretly #1 of the CDA.
Yes. So she knows everything. She's been working undercover for years, she says, to try to nail them and this plot. And then she enables them to get Boo back, but with the caveat that they have to destroy her door once that they do let her back. But it's a heartbreaking moment when they say goodbye initially.
Kitty.
And then she opens the door and it's just a closet. When she thinks that he's playing like peekaboo or whatever. When he goes into the closet again. And
that kid's in therapy to this day. You know it. No, I'm telling you, there were monsters in my closet. We chased through doors. There was a big crab guy. All right, we're going to put you on some serious medication.
You do get the happy ending, because at the very end, they destroy the door, but Sully keeps the little splinter as a memento.
Yeah.
I don't know, years or months later, you don't really know how much time has gone by, but she still sounds like she's a little girl.
Yeah, she still had the little drawing, because I was trying to figure that out as well. So Waternoose is being carried, Boo's gone. CDA's like, we don't want to see any paperwork. This never happened. But you're all out of a job. Waternoose is shut down. Monstropolis is going to have no power, because apparently, like I said, they're a monopoly and they were the only game in town. But as they're walking out, Mike's like, well, we lost our jobs and blah, blah, blah. But we had a few laughs. And that's when Sully's like, laughs. Like you said, it plays back into, earlier where she giggled and the power went nuts.
Now, do you think that Waternoose ever realized this, or no, that he was...
If he did... Why would you?
It would have been
try
just
to extract screams.
Why hide it if that was the case?
Right. No, I just think he just didn't know. I think that was something they stumbled across, because nobody ever took the time to understand or interact with a human.
But he must have known, because it seemed to me that he must have known that humans weren't toxic, because nobody would have ever died from touching a human. So I wonder where they were coming up with that. I don't know.
How many guys probably had a sock stuck to them, or again, now they're on disability. It's like, wait,
they're working the system, right?
It's like, no, man, you understand.
Yeah, there's nothing actually wrong with me, but I'm gonna play it up like there is.
Sneezed on me, I'll never be the same again. I don't know. So, but
I love it. Once it becomes a laugh floor and it's no longer a scare floor, you see, I think it's Sanderson that's got a watermelon and a mallet that he's going through his door with. Gallagher.
Yep.
And now Mike can participate. I love it. These are the jokes, kid. These are the jokes,
kids. He's like, and the kid's just staring at him like, what are you doing? He brought a stool, he brought a microphone. So let's swallow that thing and belch it back up. Yep. Major quota, and one shot. But
And
but for-
then we find out that Mike has been reassembling Boo's door for Sully. And
Yeah.
that all that it needs is the one splinter that Sully has kept. And
But you're
he's-
right. It could have been a lot of time because her little drawing on the wall is still there. So, as kids get older, they tend to. She did sound a little more coherent. Like not as Kitty, but like Kitty.
She was gone for like 2 days. Did the parents not wonder where she was?
Yeah, that is interesting. Right. Again, you fall into the wardrobe and suddenly you're in.
So yeah, maybe time
Narnia,
goes by
she's-
differently than it does in the human world.
Yeah, I
Who
think
knows?
we're thinking too much about that now.
Yes, we are. But great movie.
No, and like you said, just the look on Sully's face at the end, he doesn't say anything. You just see the awestruck smile on his face that he's reunited with Boo. So
And cut to credits. Cut to
yep,
credits.
yep.
Perfect.
And that's where we get the nice little song that the two of them sing. Wouldn't have been nothing if I didn't have you. I think it actually won an Academy Award.
The
I think
song?
Yeah.
You may be right. It did not win for Best Animated Feature, though.
What did it lose to?
Shrek, the first Shrek.
That was also 2001. 2001.
The world was like Shrek fixated at that point.
I'm sure I've told this story on this podcast, which is 2001. My daughter was just over a year old. I stayed home as a single stay-home dad while my wife went back to work. In Memorial Day weekend, I'm like, I have to get out of this house. And I went and I saw 3 movies in a row. I saw Mummy Returns. I sat through Shrek all by myself, which is a single middle-aged guy is not a fun thing. It was nice in the sense that I had like a 12-seat berth all around me because you see the kids, they all want the center spot. And all of a sudden you see the mom like kind of, no, come back over here. Yeah, and I probably laughed louder in Shrek than I did any of the kids. And then finished my day with Pearl Harbor. 3 movies in one day. And that was pre-unlimited pass.
And Pearl Harbor was like an epic, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's
a long movie.
That was a 3-hour slog.
Yeah.
But listen, you got Ben Affleck, Josh Hartnett. What's her name too?
Hey, Pearl Harbor's no Wrath of Man. Talking about Josh Hartnett.
Why was he in that?
So I was looking at box office figures for Monsters Inc.
Okay.
It cost 115 million. It made 577 million, which I was surprised because that's nothing to sneeze at. But I was expecting like billions.
Sure.
There is a Monsters at Work series that is going to premiere in July.
That's been in the works for a while.
Is that going to be Goodman
Disney
and
Plus?
Billy Crystal?
I'm gonna say yes, but I can't verify that for sure.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And is it just going to be shorts, or is it like a
It's a show. It's like a half-hour show. Yeah. I do like the credits at the end where it says no monsters were harmed in the making of this picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
And apparently this plot was worked out at that famous lunch in 1994.
Where they worked out like 4 or 5 different movies.
Yeah.
All at once.
That Lasseter, Dr. Andrew Stanton, and Joe Ranft.
Ranft was the name of one of the monsters up on the leaderboard, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's probably all of the animators had their last name up there.
And Mary Gibbs, we were talking about before, the daughter of animator Rob Gibbs. So it was in the family.
I don't think I knew that. And it won best music original song, Randy Newman for If I Didn't Have You.
At least it won something at the Academy Awards.
Yeah. Yeah, which Billy Crystal and Goodman sang together.
And it perfectly fits with the movie, that song, perfectly.
Yes. Attack of the Clones trailer was attached to this. So some of that money came from Star Wars nerds probably just going to the theater to see the trailer and then leaving. Yeah. The trailer was probably better than the movie. I will tell you, there was a Monsters 2 in development, and the subtitle was called Lost in Scaradise. But I don't know anything about this, and apparently it never went forward.
I got to say that I have a report from Disneyland. It's been 2 years since I've been there, but there is a Monsters Inc. ride in Disney California Adventure. And
there's a ride?
There's a dark ride, and it brings you, and I wrote it like 2 or 3 times. It's very similar to Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, if you've ridden that at Disney World. So you get into a taxi cab, which is open, and you go through, and you basically go through the plot of the first Monsters, Inc. movie, from the scare floor, Boo and Sully and Mike, and voiced by Goodman and Crystal.
Okay, all right.
So they're full-size animatronics of all the characters, including Randall. There is a big scene of the door chase.
Awesome.
Well. So like there's one big room that you go into, and you look up above you and you see the animatronic of Mike and Sully hanging on the swinging door, as well as Randall. And at the very end, you get a life-size Roz, and there must be an actor that's looking through a camera, because Roz is actually addressing you, like the people in your car as you're going by her. So it's pretty fun.
Like literally saying, "You in the red shirt."
You in the front row. Is that your husband? You know?
Oh, well, wasn't there like a stand-up thing, like a Disneyland?
Yeah, that's in Florida.
The laugh floor.
We did
laugh
that,
floor.
yes. And so,
but that one's also where like Mike is addressing, like he's pointing out people in the audience.
Yes, although that's not really animatronic. That's
it's like animated projected.
Yeah, it's like a stage show, and so you're sitting with an audience, and the whole thing is maybe 10 minutes.
So that's where someone's back there, you in the second row with the Mickey Mouse hat or whatever.
So they're making fun of you, and they're asking, does anybody know a joke? And so if a kid knows a joke, then they riff on that. So
yes, so it is interactive.
Two totally different experiences. So the ride isn't in Florida, but it is in California, and
that's a long ride. Yeah, they need to make that whole door sequence like one big interactive.
Imagine if that was
virtual, like a VR ride.
That would
slap
be
a
cool.
headgear on me.
Yeah,
slap a headgear on me, just like what is the one where the aerial, where you're like on the paraglider or whatever.
Soaring. That's
Soaring.
That
that's right. Yeah, that would be cool if you were on the door.
So how many buckets? How many buckets would you give Monsters?
This is about as close to a 5 bucket as I'm going to get without it being 5 buckets. So I'm going to have to go like 4 3/4. I
am going to go solid 4 with Monsters Inc.
Yeah, this is like you said, it's infinitely rewatchable. It's timeless. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
And I'll say it once again, which is watch it on Disney Plus if you can, because it is impressive. Especially for those early on, like when you watch Toy Story, and it may look nice, but you can see the edges. You can see, the start of what they were trying to do. If they went back and remade that today, it would be unbelievable. But it is what it is. It's a victim of its time. It was the first of its kind. So yeah, I was happy to watch this. I would have been happy to watch Monsters University, to be honest with you.
One of these days we will. There you
go. Listen, after what, 400 plus movies, we're gonna run out of them. Listen, well, I will have to say that if you guys stick around later this month, in July, we will be reviewing Snake Eyes, the new G.I. Joe movie. And I can only say that it is divine inspiration, of which Jim came up with our pairing for that. It's a movie we've been talking about for quite a while, and it just makes perfect sense to pair it with Snake Eyes.
So we're not going to tell you what it is yet.
No, you're going to have to stick around.
Tuned.
But it is. Yeah. I'm very excited. We've been talking forever. Do we even have time to talk Loki?
Well, let's talk Loki quickly. We have to talk Loki.
Somebody skipped through all of that just so they could get to our Loki talk.
Episode 3. So we're halfway through at this point.
Lamentous. And I'm lamenting the end of this show. Yeah, episode 3. That's it. We're halfway done.
Yeah, and this was the shortest episode yet at 42 minutes.
And nothing happened. I really feel like nothing happened in this episode. I mean, a lot, don't get me wrong, a lot went on, but it's a lot of exposition.
But you find out who the variant Loki is, but you don't at the same time.
Well, if we're led to believe what she's telling us, but after watching this episode, I'm led to believe I'm not believing anything I just watched. So I don't know what's going on with this show right now. This was a little too straight, cut and dry. If you're just going to watch it on the surface and be like, all right, so she basically, it starts with Hunter 20 and our variant Loki drinking margaritas. And you're like, oh, what's going on here? Like, where are we? What is this? This is like a 90s rom-com now.
And yeah, they're just in regular human getup, right?
Yep.
So it's like they're out, a girls' night out. That's what this looks like.
Yeah.
But what it is just a projection that this variant Loki is perpetrating, so she can get information about the timekeepers. Now, she has already said to our main Loki that she is not interested. In the past episode, Loki says to her, like, let's team up, let's take over the timekeepers. And she didn't seem bothered by that.
Yeah, no.
But we do learn that that's what she is after.
That's what she was asking. That's what she was asking. Yeah. So she explains to Loki that, because he starts asking her questions about this enchanting thing that she does. And he does refer to it as enchantment.
As an enchantment.
As an enchantment multiple times. I did watch this episode in subtitles, by the way. So that leads me leaning even more so that this is the enchantress. If it's just a huge red herring. But she says that, she can influence people with their, by the touch or whatever, but other people she has to go deeper in her subconscious in order to get them to kind of give them the information that she's looking for, or to get them to relax in a situation that allows her to extract. And that's what she was doing to this Hunter 20. Because we did see last episode, Hunter 20 is telling everybody, I told her where they were. And you see, this is how she did it. She gave her margaritas.
But in her explanation, as she's saying how she has to go deeper into some people, she has to go into their memories in order to live there with them, in order to get the information. And Loki questions this immediately because he said, wait a second, I was told the TVA created these agents and all these people, but that's not the case at all. No,
we're told that they are variants themselves. That all these people are variants who had their own lives, and the TVA somehow procured them and made them an agent,
and are using them for their own purposes.
Right. So they obviously have no memory. Well, Sylvie went back deep enough into this girl's head, but does she even remember that that's her memory? We saw Mobius looking over his Wave Runner magazine, the jet skis. So was he did he own a jet ski? Was he like a lifeguard at one point? And this is just a memory that he doesn't even realize is his, and that's why he's obsessed with it? Because these people obviously have human pasts, and probably from multiple timelines. Maybe they're not even human. They may be alien for all we know, some of them.
The little information we're given about Sylvie. Now, she keeps saying that to the main Loki, don't call me that, whenever he calls her a Loki.
Yeah.
And that she says her name is Sylvie now, which gives the indication that she was a Loki at some point.
And just to say, I'm going to change that name.
But they have different histories because they're asking each other about their parents, their mothers in particular, because, we knew what Loki's relationship with Frigga was like from the movies.
Yeah.
But it's not like this variant just has a variant timeline. She has a completely different existence.
Yeah, and she seems to have different powers than him as well.
So, this also leads into the idea of the multiverse. So maybe we're being lied to by the TVA that these are, in fact, timelines, where, in fact, that they just could be completely alternate realities.
Realities altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the interesting thing, which is we get no Mobius, we get no Hunters, and we get absolutely no mention whatsoever of what she did to the timeline by blowing it up, creating multiple fragments or variants. None of that is addressed in this episode. This is straight up Loki and Sylvie, one-on-one, talking to each other, feeling each other out. She has one of the time pads, but he steals it from her, right?
He comes into possession of it at some point during the episode, yes.
Right. And uses it to take them to this planet, Lamentus 77 or something, which is this cataclysmic event. Again, all of them, because we found out this is how she operates, is in these end of times kind of scenarios. And
yes, so she can hide herself from the TVA.
So they're going to go to this planet and use the Ark spaceship To do what? To go.
Well, here, because she is angry with Loki because she says, of all the apocalypses that you could have chosen, this is the worst one, because they're on some planet where there's a human settlement or a human city, and the moon of this planet is going to come crashing down within 12 hours. So you see this this class structure set up where there's a train that you have to be rich to have a ticket to. And the train is bringing you into the city where you're going to get on an ark and supposedly fly out to safety.
You know, they get onto the train. He pretends that he's a guard, and she's a prisoner, I guess. I don't know. They somehow fake their way onto the train. They don't have a ticket, but because he's one of the guards, they let him on. But then they're hanging out in the bar. She takes a nap, and when she wakes up, he's doing Asgardian karaoke, which was funny. I guess this shows you the difference in the characters, which is, you know, she's looking to reset. She needs, and this is how he unwinds. He's getting drunk and, you know, bringing the entire bar into his world, which is, you know, they're singing these sing-alongs. But he's no longer in guard garb.
No, he's in his variant clothes.
Right. But he does make a mention when she sits down. He says, "What are you doing?" And he goes, I don't sit with my back facing the direction we're going. And she says, "Well, I'm keeping an eye on the door." And he's like, "Well, there's doors on both sides." So I don't know if there's more going on there, that she's just trying to subvert him as far as who's in control, or if there's some, I don't know. There was some weird things. I'm completely skeptical of anything that we saw in this episode was real. I think one of them is playing the other. Because we're on this planet. Obviously it goes, you know, they have to jump off the train at one point, literally jump out the window because they're trying to be captured. That's where the time pad is broken. So now the only way that she says that they can get off this planet is to actually make it to the Ark, or was it his idea to make it to the Ark and commandeer it and get it off planet before it's destroyed? And it's a really nice sequence. And you know, this is all filmed on a soundstage.
Yes, and I took away that they didn't necessarily want to get off the planet, but they needed the Ark to power the time pad to get it working
I think
again.
that's actually what Sylvie was looking to do, right? Because they tried to go into that house, and that's where the lady shot them both.
I thought that was, and I don't know the actress's name, I thought that was the president from Battlestar Galactica.
That's exactly who she looked like, Mary McDonald.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know. And so things are falling apart. And at one point, Loki uses his powers to stop, you know, part of the ship or something from crashing on them. And have we ever seen him utilize, like use his powers like that?
To do that? No, that's what I was confused. And
that's why I'm beginning to think that this entire scenario is set up either by Sylvie or by Loki to fool the other one into doing, because she does make a point of saying that, you know, we saw the exercise where she went into Hunter 20's head, and she says that she has to pull these elaborate hoaxes or these scenarios to get the information that she's looking for. So I don't know if this is all an illusion on her part.
It could be.
I don't know. Something just seemed off to me with this, because nothing really happens. And at the end of the episode, they're screwed. The Ark blows up, it gets crushed. And now they have absolutely no way.
And now they're stuck there.
And now they're stuck there. Yeah. Okay, this is the so she explains stronger minds require elaborate illusions to get others to trust her. So that to me is all you need to know, that this could very well just be an elaborate illusion to get Loki somehow to trust her. They've done nothing but bond this entire episode. This trip, the talking about the moms and all this stuff, and he's letting his hair down by singing. That to me, she's setting him up for something.
Talk about letting his hair down. He does so many hair flips in this episode. He should be in a shampoo commercial. That should be Hiddleston's next.
He does need to wash that thing once in a while, though. It's looking a little scraggly. But this is also where we do get confirmation that he is gender fluid. He basically, because she says something about, I guess all the princesses or princes, and he goes, a little of both, you know.
But then she confirms the same thing for herself. Right. Yeah.
So,
but you know what may stand your theory on its end is the fact that she falls asleep at one point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Something is slightly off, and I almost have to. This is the kind of episode you got to wait and see what they're going to do next episode, and then you're going to be like, all right, that's so obvious. Maybe I should just take it at face value. Maybe it is exactly what we just witnessed.
Yeah, I don't know.
On a planet that's falling apart.
The fact that it doesn't get resolved gives credence to your theory as well.
Yeah, that's
because you're thinking, oh, they're stuck. What are they going to do now? And then
unless
of course,
Mobius magically shows up.
Yeah, true. Like if he tracks them and he gets them off like in the first 2 seconds of the next episode.
Yeah, because he did know what she was trying to accomplish. So I don't know. I did like the fact that when I was on the train when they were fighting and she used a crown as a weapon.
Yes.
I did like that. She threw that thing. But the fact that he's even using powers, that means he's back in his own timeline. Right? Wasn't that the whole point? Is that you couldn't use.
Well, he could still. Well, I don't know. It's maybe it's just in the building, in the TVA building.
Maybe, which we don't really know where that even exists. If it, it does it exist in its own timeline? Is it like a pocket universe? Because you can't. Yeah, if you're going to control a sacred timeline, you can't be part of that timeline.
Right. It's got to be apart from it.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot going on. So, but it was a very short episode. I did mention before that I did watch it with subtitles, and I laughed at how many sighs, shrugs, and shudders there were going on. So, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait until next episode and find out what's going on.
Yes.
So, but this is not a planet I've ever heard of. I don't know if this planet exists in the comic books, if it's important to anything. I don't think it's ever been mentioned in the MCU, but so I don't know. It was good. It was interesting. I think that there's more going on than what I was privy to. So I can either read into it or just.
And like we said, they only have 3 more episodes to wrap this all up. I don't know how they're going to do it because it seems pretty convoluted at this point, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't get resolved. Maybe it just opens up with a whole can of worms, and it's up to Doctor Strange to.
I wonder if any of this is gonna play into the next Thor movie as well.
This I enjoyed immensely. I met a gentleman who actually should be listening to our show with his 2 daughters, and they are professional celebrity stalkers. They live in Manhattan, and they go. Paul Bettany, I guess, is notorious for walking his dog, and they know exactly like where he's out walking his dog. And Jennifer Connelly. And anyways, they caught, and the girl showed me, they were filming Hawkeye in the streets of Manhattan. Okay. And she showed me a scene. She's literally across the street from the filming of who can only be, I'm guessing it's Kate Bishop, falling from like a brownstone into it's like multiple strings of Christmas lights. So she falls, she's probably got the bow and arrow kind of a thing, it was a handheld camera and it was far away, but yeah, she's like, oh yeah, they were filming Hawkeye and we just showed up on set and started recording. So I'm like, see, this is stuff I miss when I lived in Manhattan. So that's fun to know. So we do have Hawkeye coming. Maybe Hawkeye will answer some questions.
Yeah, I doubt it though.
I doubt it. So there you go. We didn't really have much to offer this week's Loki. Sorry. I hope you didn't sit all the way through that episode just for our Loki laments.
But maybe you sat all the way through to hear what we were going to do next week.
What are we doing next week, Jim?
It's sort of a 4th of July celebration episode, I think. We could call it that.
Because there's war involved?
There's war.
What is it good for?
Well, there's a tenuous connection to the second film, but the first film we're going to cover is Tomorrow War. Now, I know very little about this other than that it's sci-fi and that it stars Chris Pratt.
Yeah, that's about the extent. J.K. Simmons is in it. He's always Betty Gilpin. All right, Chris Pratt.
All right, so confirmation, it is on Amazon Prime, and it is called The Tomorrow War. Now, hopefully this second feature will thematically tie in some way, but we figured since, hey, it's got a war in it, maybe it will. The original Red Dawn.
And I think we found this on Tubi, correct?
Yeah, I think that this is available on a few different
Looks like it's on HBO, yeah.
So this is where I was going with a patriotic kind of feel of a 4th of July.
Oh, listen, if you can't get behind the Wolverines, then I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a movie that my wife will not be happy that we are watching this week.
Oh, why is that?
Oh, it's too sad for her.
Oh,
She doesn't, it's just a downer of an ending, and yeah. It's all right. I'm watching it regardless.
Tomorrow War, and then followed up by Red Dawn. For
That
your
is
4th of
very
July.
patriotic.
Yeah.
That's right. Wolverines all the way. And then episode 4 of Loki. So cool. I'm looking forward to it. Well, that was fun to go in Disney World for a while. Disney Plus. We will be going back there because there's plenty to pilfer. They keep coming up with new stuff, and we'll dig back into the old stuff. I like Disney. So cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks as always.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. If you feel the need, go give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Apparently that helps with our numbers. The more reviews we get, the higher we're going to listen. We were number 2 in Ghana.
Yeah, and we were in the top 5 in Jordan as well.
So thank you over there, all 2 of you.
Yes. And India. There's been a lot of listens in India lately. So thanks for coming on.
There. Cool. Well, thank you very much.
Right.
Appreciate it. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello, everybody. If you liked the podcast you just heard, then please follow TMI on all of our social media outlets. First and foremost, email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast2018. Stop over, say hi, give us a compliment. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, which is also TMI_podcast2018.
And of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TMI Podcast 2018. And it should be noted, we also have a community page, so join the forum.
And if you like to watch YouTube, you can see us at TMI Podcast 2018, all one word. Look for the popcorn bucket.
Popcorn bucket. Or you could just go to our website, which has every link there, TMIconfessionalspodcast.com. And we'll see you at the concession stand.
We'll save some popcorn for you.
Mike Wazowski!